So here at Gramercy Comic Con, Aberdeen's first Comic Con, Jamie, say hello. And we're here with Paul Blake.
Me.
Better known as Greedo from Star Wars.
Indeed.
And Shane Rimmer, who's been in a whole host of great stuff. Yeah. Haven't you?
You could also say you got away with a host of stuff.
I got away with a host of stuff. So we just thought we'd get you guys just have a wee bit of just a chat, it's like, you know, more like banter, I suppose, and just see what you guys have been up to. So, you know, Paul, what have you been up to since
Star Wars?
Yeah. Give us a brief overview.
How long have you got? You want a brief CV of? Oh, God knows. I've well, when I came out of prison, that was
dark.
Yeah,
that was a long while
just got
ago.
dark.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time in Hong Kong. I was working over there for Run Shaw, and Run Shaw. I did a lot of theatre. I've been in a lot of TVs over the last 40 years or so, and I've done quite a few movies, of course, most of which have gone straight to video.
Okay.
Quite rightly, but so I suppose I'm pretty grateful to Star Wars now in the sort of 40 years.
Yeah.
But we were lucky. I mean, when I was a young actor and first started, we just moved from job to job. It was I wouldn't say it was easier, but you just went from contract to contract, and we're never really out of work. We were so lucky. And then, of course, as you get older, you don't want to do so much either.
Yeah. And they don't want you to do so much.
And they don't want you to do so much.
Because you guys are both in Star Wars. Did you meet each other then? Did you know each other then? Or?
No, we didn't. I don't think Shane and I were in the same sequences. All my sequences were the Cantina sequences at Elstree. So, and I think you were at Elstree though, weren't you, Shane?
No, I think I was at Shepperton.
Right. We can't even remember which studios we were at.
What was the picture? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, which movie was it?
So you guys, so you didn't actually see each other on Star Wars at all when you?
No.
How was that when you were doing that?
How was it being on Star Wars?
Yeah, like, you know, because obviously you sat opposite Harrison Ford and.
Well, you kind of got to remember that in the 70s, every sci-fi film was a B movie, so we had no preconceptions about what we were going to be doing. It was just another job. Really. You turn up, you couldn't wait to leave. I think most movies you were doing, you couldn't wait to get off and back home and on to the next job, whatever that might be. But it was. I do remember. There is one small anecdote that I'll bore you with, which is with the first day I turned up on Star Wars, it was empty, the whole set, for an interview to be in it. And there was nobody there on set at Elstree, so I wandered around for a bit, and I wandered into the soundstage that I actually was eventually on. It was quite big and quite impressive, and there was Millennium Falcon at one end, nothing else but sort of sand on the floor and bits and pieces and huge arc lights. Nobody there apart from one guy in the far corner, and I'd just caught a really early train from Central town to Shepperton or Elstree or wherever we were, and I went over to this guy and said, look, I'm desperately thirsty, you couldn't get me a cup of coffee, could you? So he wandered off, got me a cup of coffee, and I was just saying, look, there's some guy directing this called George. He said, I'm George Lucas. So I'd asked him to, and he still gave me the job to this day. So that's my fondest memory.
That's awesome. Did you guys think when you were in Star Wars that it was going to be big when you're doing it?
What we said, I didn't quite catch it.
When you're in Star Wars, you guys, did you think it was going to be as big as it is now?
I don't think so.
No.
I mean, it's funny. I don't know what the percentage is, but the first episode or two is always much different than the episodes that follow on. They're still trying to find a formula with episodes 1, I think, and 2, and until they get the direction that they need to take, it's a hit and miss situation.
Yeah. No one tries to make a movie that's a failure, of course.
No, of course not. No.
But no, I don't think anyone.
I know a couple who do.
Yeah, I've seen the producers as well.
Yeah. So I have to ask when you were in the mask for Greedo, right? Was that your voice?
Oh yeah.
And
well,
how did they animate the face and stuff?
Well, that wasn't me doing the animation. That was done about a year later in Industrial Light and Magic. I mean, that scene, I was lucky to be in it because all my stuff was done about 2 weeks. I was on it for quite some time for such a small character, really. I was on it for about 3 weeks. And all my stuff was done with the original Jabba the Hutt, who was an actor.
Yeah,
Declan Mulholland,
jacket,
that's right.
Yeah.
And we did several scenes together with Harrison and Alec Guinness and a couple of other people. And all that was cut when George decided he wanted Jabba to be the big animatronic character, the big puppet that you see. So the tiny bit of scene that was left was now the iconic, famous scene. But George hadn't got much of that. We'd rushed it through on a Friday afternoon, and that was it. So he had no close-ups at all, only long shot and a few little bits, because the mask didn't move at all, and there was no voice coming through. We couldn't see anything much. So he did all that a year later with Industrial Light and Magic. So when you see that, I'm not in that mask when the thing moves, but I was in everything else, and particularly the explosion bit where and did all the dialogue with Harrison up until the point that he shoots Greedo.
Okay. Yeah.
Exit Greedo, sadly.
But obviously, Shane, you've been in loads of stuff. You know, James Bond. You've been in Star Wars, and then you were the voice of Scott Tracy as well on Thunderbirds. Yes. How was that? What was that like?
Well, again, you weren't really quite sure where this thing was going. I mean, first of all, when I went to do my reading for Gerry Anderson, who I didn't know. I didn't know who Gerry Anderson was. I hadn't been over here very long. And we went to his place in Gerrard's Cross. Half of it was still to be built. Sawdust everywhere, people working away with one thing or another. And then this fellow came in, who was a sound man, and handed me a sheet of paper. There was no title on the paper, no character name. I felt I was in a snowstorm or something. It was ridiculous. Anyway, I put the stuff down. It looked like a very plausible script. I was quite an ingenuous in those days. Anyway, 2 or 3 weeks later, I got the offer to do Scott Tracy. You still don't know where it's going, or you still don't know what going to happen to Scott Tracy, whether it's a big part or whatever. So you just have to take it as another job.
Yeah.
I don't know if it happened to you, Paul, but I mean, it happened that you don't count your chickens before they're before they're hatched, because things either they just disintegrate or they don't work out too well, or you don't work out too well. So it's a very problematic kind of thing. I was very lucky because when I got to London, there weren't too many American or North American voices around. Not many at all. So the only thing they had were English voices. I won't make any more comment about that. You found yourself doing an awful lot of work. And it was a very pleasant experience. And also the European situation was opening up. Hungary and all these places really were building some grand studios. Strange thing was, not strange, but interesting. The head of every group, whether electrician or sound man or whatever, it was British. I can say British in Scotland, can I? Yeah. Thank you. So every squad had an Englishman or a British, simply because they had the experience. And it takes an awfully long time to work something out with somebody who's also working out himself. Who's not quite sure. So that some happen, some don't.
That's excellent. Did they ask you to be a voice? Obviously, they've just done a remake series of Thunderbirds. Did they contact you to be a voice in that or anything?
Yeah, we were wondering about that.
On what?
They've relaunched
the
Thunderbirds,
reboot,
so they've rebooted it. And
you mean the new one?
Yeah.
No.
Did inquire at all?
ITV and myself are on different sides of the fence.
Shane's too expensive now.
Okay.
Oh, it's terrible, isn't it? I'm quite ashamed of the salary I get. Not for the reason you
Not
think.
for the reason I came up with, no.
So I think they wanted a pretty clean sheet to start this off, and David Graham, who plays Brains and Parker, kept the Parker part for him.
I saw that.
He's still Parker,
Parker part. And, anyway, he's in it, and they're doing a continuation of it, going into another series. So obviously, it's making an impact somewhere. They're still going to do it over here. I don't know any of the others who are involved, but I didn't get a call.
No.
Not yet.
Not yet. Not until it becomes huge. And so you were also involved, weren't you, with other stuff like that? Were you involved in things like Joe 90 and Stingray and all that kind of stuff?
No, my first contact with Gerry Andersonville was Thunderbirds.
Thunderbirds, and that was that.
I knew not too much about the preceding ones, although I understood it was building all the time.
Yeah, of course.
It was getting stronger. They were finding out more about where they place the more interesting parts of the film. And in the meantime, Derek Meddings, who was probably and went on to do all the Bond pictures, was probably the ace special effects guys in all of London. He was absolutely amazing. And that kept Thunderbirds afloat.
Yeah.
They were quite spectacular. The first time I think they were able to meld a kind of family entertainment with sort of high space technology, and it worked.
I used to love it when I was a child. I absolutely love it. So you must have been the same. Yeah. My dad he loved it, so I ended up loving it as well, and it's just nice to see that.
Yeah, you got taste, kid.
Kid, I've been called that for a long time.
What was it like being on Bond? Are you a fan of Bond yourself, or
fan of Bond?
James Bond, yeah.
Oh yeah. It was interesting. You hear that? I'm sorry. It was interesting because I worked with both of them, with Connery and I with Roger Moore.
Yeah.
The difference was quite interesting. You can't take away the aura that Connery had. I mean, he'd pin you with those eyes, and he'd say, "Where can I go out of here?" He took his part very seriously. But you've got to take it, you give him a lot of credit, because somebody who creates a part like that out of, a book deserves an awful lot of credit, and he made it. I mean, you go in Tokyo, they went crazy about him, and it would be opening in 4 or 5 different cinemas at the same night. Gosh. I mean, it was absolutely immense. Roger
I remember seeing them early on and was very impressed as a sort of... I was in my early 20s or late teens when the first ones came out, and pretty impressive they were too. And everybody wanted a car, or to look like him, or to sound like him, or
Can you do a Sean Connery impression?
No.
It's just Scottish.
It would have been terrible, I tell you.
It would have been terrible. I think you should.
So what are you up to now, Paul? Do you have anything on the cards?
Me, I've been trying to retire for the last 5 years. Yeah, my wife keeps on pushing me out the door and getting me to do stuff. I do quite a bit of audiobooks still, because I really like that, because you don't have to look your best and you pop up in a studio. And so I've done a lot of those recently, and I really enjoy doing that now. And it's quite at my age in life, it's quite a new discipline, and it's quite hard to do them properly, either because you're playing one character in a book, and you've got to keep that alive through an entire book, which is quite difficult. Or you're playing several, and if you're playing several, you can't get to the last chapter and find out you're Welsh. So you have to do quite a lot of research on the book
there somewhere.
Exactly, before you actually start doing them. But I really do enjoy them. I've done quite a few recently, but that's kind of... My daughter's still in the industry. She's a film producer, so occasionally I get a call from her saying, "Dad, they know you're Greedo,
we need you,
and they want you to come and do something." So I do a little bits and pieces. If it's somewhere nice and hot, and they put me up in a hotel with a nice pool, I like that.
That's brilliant. That's actually brilliant. That's
nice. But I don't do much. I certainly don't do much theatre anymore, and that's mostly what my...
I can imagine that's quite taxing on you as well.
Well, it's just hard to remember it all now. I mean, it really is. If you're playing if you're playing a big character and you're sustaining it for 2 hours a night, and wherever you are, it's hard work and requires a huge amount of physical effort.
Poor actors. Poor actors.
Thanks for the concern. I know I'm sounding like a small violin here.
Yeah. That's brilliant.
Right. Well, we haven't actually said thank you for taking time out to actually chat to us.
Thanks
it's been amazing talking to you.
An absolute pleasure. Do we get the check by the door, or is that?
Yeah.
Coupons is fine.
Sandwiches, maybe.
Sandwiches and coupons.
But we'll get to chat to you a bit more throughout the day, hopefully. And thank you very much.
Thanks so much, guys.
Nice one, guys. Pleasure. Thanks.